You've been writing and calling and asking us when are we finally going to have a guest on the show. So we've broken down after, what's it been, 7 years, Robin? 8 years?
Yeah, 7.5 years.
Yeah, and we said, you guys really need to meet this lady, Catherine Maloney, this very funny friend of ours. So you're gonna, on this latest episode of
Scooch Ovaries!
Scooch over.
Hey, can you scooch over?
You want me to scooch over?
Just a little bit. Scooch.
Scooch?
Scooch.
Scooch. Scooch Ovaries! Catherine Maloney.
Hi, Mary Tischbein.
How are
Hi,
you?
Robin Savage.
Hi, Catherine.
How are you ladies doing today?
We're good. We're so happy you're here, and we're filming it, and we're going to put it on YouTube, and it's going to be amazing, and we don't apologize in advance. You're going to hear some words.
Probably.
Over and over and over.
You're going to be like, do I get $1 every time she says that word or what? No, you don't. I don't even get $1 every time I say the word, so
And you
suck it
won't-
up, buttercup.
You won't be offended, but you will learn more about Jesus, because that's inevitable. That's gonna happen.
Probably. I can't help but sprinkle a little JC in every conversation.
One thing about Catherine, she loves the F word. She loves Jesus.
Yeah, I fucking love Jesus.
That's merch. That's good merch you could have. Oh my God. So we had a little meeting in the living room. We ate food. I tried to do craft services, but Catherine was here today, so it didn't go the way it usually does. I didn't cook today.
I'm like the Bobby Flay of the K3. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
lean into my love of cooking. It's my love language. And, I'm good at it. And
Yeah.
so, why not?
What's that stirring thing you tried to teach me? Like, do you stir a certain
Catherine's like, whisk.
Oh, like with a spoon?
way? Yeah. You
Because I got the witch in me. I always stir it 3 times clockwise, and I say, this is the best thing I've ever made, or this is the best version of it. And it almost like sets the intention that
Like
it's
you're
going to be good.
manifesting
Yeah,
it.
I'm manifesting it to be the best. And everyone's always, when I eat my food, they go, wow, this is like the best of whatever this is. And it's just put good intention in. I know one lady I met, and this was a doctor. I had to do some event planning thing, and we were chatting on the way home, and she was like, yeah, I actually have a salt and pepper shaker, and one, it's empty, but a piece of paper, and one says love and one says hope. And every time she cooks, she sprinkles a little love and hope into every meal. And I was like, that is like so cute. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but it's just a cute little vision of like, cook and do things with intention, because it'll end up coming out better.
Oh, wow.
A little life lesson.
Yeah.
I think JC said that, right?
I'm sure he did. Did you ever cook anything and you were in a very, very angry mood and then you ate it and you could taste it in the food? Oh.
Yeah. You could definitely, like, you ever eat a sandwich at a place where you're like, this person was not happy? Like,
Actually,
it's,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it's
You're
all
right.
haphazard. You haven't? Oh, I've looked at a sandwich and went, this person's getting a divorce. Like, they are in the middle of a custody battle. Like, easily. I'm like, look at this. It's all askew. The tomato's not even ripe. It's like they left a sticker on it. Like, they just do not care.
Not right.
You know? So, yeah, I definitely have had sandwiches where I could taste the hate. You know, and I'm like, wow, they really don't like their mother-in-law and they're in town. Yeah, so.
I need to be way more observant, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Well, have you ever, like, eaten something and you're like, I don't feel any better? Like, I've had stuff like that where I'm like, that did nothing for me. Like, I'm still kind of, like, searching for that satisfied feeling.
I get that when I'm thirsty and I don't know it. I think I'm hungry and I keep eating and nothing happens.
You're like,
and
I
it's
should
'cause
just
I'm
had a glass
thirsty.
of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I'm having a midlife crisis, I'm like, I bet you I need to drink something. Like, you know what I mean? I'm probably dehydrated.
That's great. I just don't have enough water in my system.
Definitely. I'm a dehydrated drama queen. Like,
Well,
easily.
I need help. Now you're thirsty.
Yeah.
Hydrate.
Did you drink a glass of water? Kayla will say that, my daughter. She'll be like, did you have any water today? And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? The house is on fire. And she's like, no, it's not. You just need to drink some water.
Yeah.
But I don't drink water.
No.
That's something I really don't do. That I'll have this maybe, but I would probably say I drink like 3 glasses of water a week.
Well, I
3
know.
glasses of water in an hour.
Yeah. You pee a lot?
All the time.
I try, but I end up making up for lost time a lot with drinking water. I'll drink a lot quickly. Over
Like a Camel?
Like twice a day I'll do that, which is ridiculous. But you recently gave up something you very much enjoy to drink for a particular reason, didn't you?
I gave up soda for Lent.
Oh, okay.
And I drank probably like a 6-pack a day. Yeah.
That's terrible for you.
I know, but
They'll
it
clean the
tastes
battery
so
in the car.
good.
It does
Yeah,
taste
like I have stomach issues.
You're like, maybe that's why I have that weird ear pain.
Oh, I've had diarrhea forever. Like when people are like, do you have, like every time I go to a pool and I see the sign where it's like, you can't have diarrhea in the last 24 hours. I'm like, who are you, the queen? That you don't have diarrhea every day? You don't have a diarrhea schedule? Like you don't know, right?
Yeah. No, that,
La-ti-da. No diarrhea in 24 hours? Like, ugh. I've never had that in my entire life. Never.
no.
I've never gone 24 hours without diarrhea.
I'm just you're reminding me of my sister Jeannie. She drank Coke all the time, and her stomach was never right. But she wasn't going to
It
give up the
cleans
Coke.
batteries. What
It
do you
has
think it's
acid
doing?
in
Yeah,
it.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Delicious.
It's so good,
so
especially if
good.
you get like a crispy one. Like they're not making it like that anymore, you know, where it's like it kind of like chokes you, you know, and you're like, it's so good. You're like choking, like you're smoking a cigarette.
You take a nicotine
You
off
know,
your
yeah.
cigarettes
But
off.
yeah, I gave it up for Lent. I gave it up for Lent last year, and I did it. I was super happy, and so far I've done it. So far, I don't know. I think we're like halfway through Lent.
It ends on April 20th. I know that.
420, which is my other favorite holiday.
I was complaining.
Potheads for Jesus.
Yeah, you don't want to say stoners because then it gets a little tricky.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
we know the stoners are not for Jesus. You know what I mean?
Potheads might be though.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Well, we have a thing that we do on this podcast. It used to be chaos, and now we try to do segments once in a while. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Robin and I had good intentions, as we always do, and I think that it wouldn't be a bad idea to start one. We're probably just going to do that one and spend 2 hours doing it. Hey, Catherine, I need to escape reality, and I got to tell you, I need something to distract me. Is there something I should watch for just needing to get away from the noise of the news? What do you think?
Oh my gosh, there's so much to watch.
Yeah, here we go.
That's like asking me, like, did you eat something today?
like, what'd
It's
you-
just so much. I mean, it just depends on what you're in the mood for.
Yeah.
When I don't actively look for things that will hurt me, you know?
Yeah.
Like how some people are like, oh, I need a good rom-com. I need a good Hallmark movie. Why?
Yeah.
Like, do you not like yourself? Like, does your husband not cheat on you? Like, are you not aware of, like, like, what's going on? You don't live in a small town with a billionaire that's running the tea shop, all right? Like, stop watching these things. So I don't like that. I don't like anything that's, like, you know, peels back the onion of, like, the deep underbelly of society. I don't want to feel like, because I feel like that all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
my palms are sweating constantly. So I lean towards things like comedy, obviously. Like, I love anything Will Ferrell. I could watch him paint a wall and I'd be like, the guy's a genius. But I also, my favorite genre of movie is horror comedy.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you get the
Amen.
slash and the blood and the gore, but they make it funny, right? So it's like
Yeah.
you're not scared about it because it's not like a suspenseful, like, oh, who done it? It's like, you know, just craziness.
You're like, they're dead, but it was a hilarious way to go.
They deserved it. You know what I mean? Like, especially if they kill the right people in the right order, you're like, get them. It's so
Yeah.
satisfying because you're like, they're doing everything that I would do. They're like killing the right guy and they're making a joke about it. And that's the way life balances out. So that's mine.
What's that movie called with the blonde chick and it's she's engaged to the guy and they go to the house?
Yeah, Ready or Not.
That one. Mm-hmm.
That one. So have you ever seen that?
I probably haven't watched a horror movie in, honestly, 30 years.
Oh,
Even if
no.
it was a comedy.
Gotta
real?
watch it. It's
Wait,
so funny.
what?
I'm telling you, you'll
She
love
doesn't
it.
make the time, Catherine. She just doesn't try.
All right. Well, we'll make it a requirement for the next podcast. I'll be like, oh, you want me to come down to Bradenton? Yeah, you're going to need to watch a couple movies, Robin.
You're like, oh, damn it, no.
You're going to change your life for the better, though. It's a great movie, but it's so funny. And, like, people are dying and you're just laughing the whole time. And then it's a perfect ending. And that's what's satisfying, too. Like, you're like, all the ends are tied up and you're like, okay, we can move on. And so I seek out for that. I know some people will seek out for like you know, cartoons and stuff. I like adult animation. So like,
I'm
you know,
that person.
South Park
Oh, yeah,
and Bob's Burgers. Yeah.
Big Mouth.
Big Mouth is great.
Yeah.
And so
I've watched The Simpsons since 1987.
yeah, me too.
Yeah. Or maybe 89, whenever it first came
Tracy
out.
Ullman.
First came out as Tracy Ullman.
Yes.
Maybe that was 87, and then it was its own thing in 89.
I'm so proud of my girls.
Yeah.
I'm so proud. Were you both born when
Yeah.
Tracy Ullman was on?
Yeah.
I was a senior in high school in 87, and then I was a freshman in high school, or a freshman in college, 89.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was married.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were probably pretty little. You were probably a little kid.
Yeah, I was like 10
Yeah.
in 89. I was born in 79. So,
okay.
but I had no restriction on entertainment. I could watch rated R movies in kindergarten. Probably earlier than that. Like no one was watching me
affect
in the best way possible. Like I have, you know, like I could literally like, you know, shoot the shit about any kind of stuff back then. When I was really little, so this was probably about 1989. There was a show on Friday nights. I don't know if it aired nationally, but it was called Comic Strip Live. And it was, do you remember Comic Strip Live?
Yeah.
So I was like in the 3rd grade, and I remember sitting on the couch every Friday at 11 o'clock at night, and I would cross my arms and be like, make me laugh. And it was like I was like a scout, you know. I was like, all right. You started strong with the married stuff, but I don't know about this other stuff in the back end. Tighten it up, right? Samurai sword it, buddy. We're gonna make it stronger. You don't end on a lull. No one's laughing. What are we doing?
That was the heyday of stand-up comedy, because they had stand-up. Rosie O'Donnell, she was like a VJ
VH1 Spotlight.
For VH1, yes, Spotlight, stand-up.
Stand-up
like,
Spotlight.
All that stuff. That's when stand-up was prime.
It was that was actually that was the heyday.
Yeah, that was the heyday beyond
Coming
the
out of
heyday.
the 70s, the 80s those were the golden years.
Yeah. Well, it was like, we don't have to get them always to get into a room. We could have it on TV and we'll bring them, because where else are they going to go?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, especially if you weren't competing with Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
So if you could do something on the Friday night, it's like now you got them on Friday and you got them on Saturday.
Yeah, that's smart.
So it's like, you know, training them. Like I was trained, but I was also in the 3rd grade.
Yeah.
So I bet you I wasn't in their Nielsen ratings. They're like, we got this
8-year-old?
this 8-year-old that's writing in, and she's killing it on the breakdown of these guys. Like she's like a wizard or some shit.
Well, at that time, I was still living in my tiny little hometown in Missouri, so there would have been never a place for me to actually see stand-up. So that was my first encounter to stand-up, was watching, you know, like VH1's, you know, Spotlight or Stand Up, or Comic Strip Live. So, yeah, that was
their way to expose you. So this way, when you go to the big city,
when you go
maybe y'all will check out a show in real life. Oh my gosh, that's Rosie O'Donnell right there. She's from my TV. That's not how they talk in the Midwest or anywhere. I made up that accent.
Actually, the first time I ever worked with Henry Cho, I got a little choked up, because I remember watching him standing in my living room in Savannah, Missouri, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm now like opening for this guy. So
It is weird when you do get to meet the person. Like that was your moment. I remember he still performs. His name is Ralph Harris, but in the 80s and 90s, he went by Ralph Lewis Harris. All the white people listening and watching, he was the only black guy on Seinfeld. He delivered the stuff.
he was
right?
a heavy set black guy. Yeah.
He was kind of because I think he's wearing like a winter coat. But Ralph Harris. There's another comedian. He's kind of stocky, kind of like Faison Live. Well, maybe Daniel. But going back to Ralph Lewis Harris,
I don't know if
every
Daniel,
time
but I don't think
every time I would go, not now. Every time I would go to the Improv before I started doing comedy, and on the comment card it would say, "Who would you like to see here?" And I would always write Ralph Lewis Harris every single time, because he's got a 90s HBO special that is like top notch. You got to watch it. It's a masterclass of physical, committed to character comedy, and he does it. It's like a one-man show, and it is phenomenal. And so I've always been a huge fan. So flash forward, now I'm doing comedy, and he did a gig at the casino, and I was like trying, because it was, I think, through Bonkers, and I was like, oh, maybe I can get a ticket.
Yeah.
Because I was like desperate to see him. I was like, oh my God, he's gonna be like here. I gotta, and I'm already in comedy, so like I shouldn't be so like fangirl, but it's like, come on.
Oh yeah.
When it's your person, it's like I want to see them, and he seems so relatable, and so like I didn't think he was gonna be, he wasn't a jerk, but anyway, so I don't make it to that show because I think I had a gig, and I was like, oh, all right, whatever. Flash forward another 2 years, he's gonna be at the Improv.
Oh.
And this is when I was at like the pinnacle of like hosting, like constantly.
you were there all the
So
time.
I was like, I could get this. I know I could get this. So I begged them. I'm like, and no one's asking to open. All due respect. But nobody's knocking down Bob Joyce's door to get this gig. Like no one is like, I gotta open for Ralph Lewis Harris. It's like, it's Ralph Harris now. He dropped the Lewis. And I'm like, I'm that much of a fan. So give me a second. And so they were like, fine, take it. And so I get the gig, and I'm like, I can't even like contain myself. I must have been like floating, because I go into the green room and I'm like, hi, I'm Catherine Maloney, and I'm going to be your host this weekend, and I've been watching you since I'm a kid, and I'm the biggest fan, and like, I could do all your bits. So, I kind of came in with that energy, and I probably said half that, but he was like, Jesus Christ. Like, he like literally, like, it was like, whew, like I just like blew him to the wall, and he was just like, okay. And then, I always, in the beginning especially, I would always sit at the comics table and observe and like really watch it, especially if it was the whole weekend, because you could literally see how they navigated each audience and the venue, and how much of it was pre-planned and how much of it was in the moment, and how consistent were they, and just the whole thing, because you're a student in the beginning. And so I was like so like studious in that respect, where I would sit there, especially if I'm like a fan.
Yeah, that's a whole different
And I haven't
feel.
seen him live, and like it's been forever. So I'm sitting there, and like first show, I sit there and I watch it, and I always would eat my dinner when I would watch it, And then the second night or whatever, he was like, are you gonna sit there and watch me every single show? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, please don't. He was like, it's freaking me out. And I was like, okay, no problem.
He asked you not to?
Yeah, he was like, it because I guess
But
it's
isn't
like,
the comic table so far back? I'm surprised he could even see you.
yeah, but I laugh forward. So even one time I was laughing. I was opening for Tony Rock, Chris Rock's brother, and like I was laughing so loud that Tony Rock on stage was like, "Catherine, is that you?" And I was like, "You know it, you funny motherfucker!" Like I was like, tears rolling down my face. I'm just like sweating. I got a fan. I'm like, go for it. So I'm just very like, if I go to a movie even by myself. Have you ever seen Harry and the Hendersons? Yeah. So when he's sitting in the recliner watching the TV, and he's laughing at the TV, and he's eating his plant. You probably don't remember, but he's like,
so long since I've seen
he's like really. That's me. I don't care who's in the room. If I think it's funny, I'm going to laugh. So I guess it was distracting. I mean, it kind of is now that I'm at this point. If I had somebody in the room that was like, you know what I mean? It can kind of be distracting.
Yeah.
So I appreciate where he's coming from, but I still sat there every show.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was like,
Yeah.
you don't know me.
McCurdy's, when I took the class, one of the things they said was, you can come anytime and watch a show, because that's where you're learning. Also, only Sundays. Like,
Any Sunday that's not I mean,
booked.
which is like, you could come every third Sunday on a full moon.
Yeah, for free. Otherwise, you got to pay. But it's so important to watch when you're learning.
Oh, absolutely.
You got to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you currently have someone that you are dying to see do stand-up? Do you have someone right now that you would pay money for to go see today who's a stand-up comic? Actively working right now. I'm not going to count Kathleen Madigan, because
I was going to say it's Kathleen Madigan. I'm finally getting to see her in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I think of her as though a peer for you.
Well, she's just so good. I mean, she's like, like she should, if there's a Mount Rushmore of comics, like she should be on it, because what I appreciate so much about Kathleen Madigan is that she is just a comedian. She's not a female comedian. She's not this. She's not that. She's just a straight comedian.
Yeah.
Anybody could literally do her material. Like anybody, like in any demographic, could possibly do it, and it would still, stand on its own. It's like, just she's so comfortable with just her perspective and just like telling her stories from when she was a kid and like just now. Like me and Kayla always do the joke where it's like, what color was that pill I just gave you? Do you know that bit?
Yeah. With
I
your
just
mom.
did that with my family.
Like crazy people love tinfoil. Like that bit too.
Yes.
And that just goes to show you, like my daughter who's 19, like Kathleen Madigan's one of her favorite comedians like of all time. And that just shows you like the depth and just how she's just so, I'm so happy to be seeing her. But other than her,
It's hard, right?
it's really difficult.
It's hard to come out with one.
You know who I've really gotten into lately is Leanne Morgan. I think she's so funny.
She's the blonde.
Yeah.
Was she in that movie recently with Will
Yes.
Ferrell and Reese
You're
Witherspoon?
cordially invited?
Yeah.
Yes, she was.
Okay.
She reminds me of my trajectory if I actually ever made it. Because she raised her children and then she didn't really get she raised her children and did stand up kind of when she could, but she didn't really hit it big until she was 55 and she's 59 now and she's doing movies with, Will Ferrell, Reese Witherspoon. She's playing theaters now.
Yeah.
Not comedy
great.
clubs.
I didn't know she was 59.
Yeah.
My doctor loves her. When I met my doctor, which is weird, I guess, but that's what happens when you're my age. You go to the doctor and you make them laugh. You say, well, I did comedy for a while. Oh my God, have you ever seen Leanne Morgan? I'm like, the country lady? No.
You're like, Leanne Rhymes?
Yeah, and I was like, no, well,
She
you have to check her out.
sings?
I'm like, and I watched like a minute once, and I thought, this isn't on my list. And then everyone kept talking about her, and then they booked her where I work, the Van Wezel.
Yep.
And then they sold out that night, and they booked a second night, and then they sold out that night, and they just booked a third
And you were
night.
like,
She's
I gotta pay
really
attention to
funny.
this
Yeah.
lady.
Yeah,
Well, it's
and-
because she's relatable, right? She's just talking like we would talk. So it's like
Yes.
almost like you're just out letting your friend like talk, you
Yeah.
know, and have a good night and you're just feeding off of it. And I think that's more relatable than all this viral stuff. It's like I've done the industry, I'm over 16 years. And so it's not to say that this isn't like going to be permanent with like, TikTok stars and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not to say that it's not our new reality, but real people appreciate traditional comedy and appreciate that storytelling and leaning into, like giving them the space because you trust that at the end of the car ride, it's going to be like, and now we're in paradise. So that's never going away either. It's just in order for you to be like Leanne Morgan, you have to brick by brick build your fan base, similar to like Carlin and Joe Coy's a good example. Even Sebastian, how do you say his last name?
Maniscalco.
Yeah.
That guy.
Took me a while, but I got there.
When they finally make it big, like when he's doing movies with De Niro and he's doing this and he's selling out,
Streaming.
he put up like him in LA with the one comedy club that had him on the wall. Like they had a whole mural up of him because he was going to be there. And he was like, you see this? They wouldn't even let me in the door when I started.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
And Joe Coy says the same thing. They wouldn't let me in the door. I had to book the venue, sell the venue. And through that process, you get like, you're built with like concrete. No one's knocking you over because they love you. They bought the tickets. They supported you. It's like almost like they're your boosters. You know what I mean? They're like, I believe in this LeBron kid. I'm going to give him $5. I'm going to get him some sneakers, I'm going to do my thing, because I believe he's going to go somewhere. You have to back your own horse. And when you really know that you got something, a lot of people that know that they can't push you around with it, they can't own you, they can't buy you out because you stand with your own integrity, that's a lonely road because you have to build it. But once you built it, nobody's knocking it down. And you can't get canceled.
And comedy's so fickle. They won't like you until they love you. And that's the only way. Like, they don't give a shit until you've made it big. And once you made it big, then they'll welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, then it's like, oh my God, who's this Bill Burr guy?
Yeah.
He's been out for 30 years. You know what I mean? And people are like, have you heard of him?
You wouldn't even let him host like 5 years ago?
Exactly.
That's who he is.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just be who you are because then when you get the opportunity, you don't have to worry about maintaining the falsity of like whatever it is. Like, oh, this is what they want. This is what they want. No, you do what feels right. And then organically your people will find you. And then once they find you and you pop, then other people will just be like, all right, we're in, we're on board. We're in.
Yeah.
But
did you guys see the video that went by on social media? I know it's weird to do that, but I'm doing it. It was Chelsea Handler talking about how she met Bill Cosby Have you guys seen this?
No.
This is amazing. So she's one of the people who said, fuck it, this is who I am. I'm going to write books. I'm going to do my talk show.
her.
I'm never going to compromise in any way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. And I will be open about everything. I will talk about my grief. I will talk about my drug use. I will talk about my sex habits, everything. She doesn't care, right? And you were first on board. I came later.
I remember Chitty Chitty
love-
Bang Bang, right? It was Chelsea Bang Bang. I
Yeah,
borrowed
Chelsea,
the book.
Chelsea.
I was
There you
like,
go.
Robin, keep in mind, I don't read. And I don't think I read a few chapters and I was like, you need to take this book back before I own it.
Yeah. And then it's me, vodka. Hello, vodka. It's me, Chelsea. That was
Yeah,
the
her
one.
first book was My Horizontal Life, and she wrote
Yes.
that before she was really like anyone famous. And I think that's kind of what
Gave her the
boosted her.
trajectory. Yeah, for sure.
I remember when her talk show came out, I started watching it and I was like, well, she doesn't seem personable or warm or relatable, but she's funny. So I thought, okay, let's see where it goes. But she was being interviewed. It was, is it Theo Vaughn?
Yeah.
On his podcast. So he's interviewing her and he says, did you ever get to meet Bill Cosby? And she said, I did. And she said, I wasn't impressed. And then she
I
said,
love her so much.
he invited me to his room. And this was before it all came out about the roofie stuff, way before. She had no idea this was going on. So she decides to go and she brings the opener, who's a male comedian, which is that's what I call men comedians. Now I call them male comedians instead of female.
You better.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
She
And-
brought a mail opener.
yeah, she brought a mail opener and her bodyguard, and they went, and Bill Cosby opens the door, and his face is like disappointed, and then he was rude the whole time, and they left. And she said, so nothing happened, but just to set the record straight, that roofie wouldn't have touched me.
Yeah. He would have been like, man, I've been tranquilizing this bitch for hours, and she's walking around me
Hit her with a blow dart because
in the neck, and she's like,
That's the best part.
you know who I am? You better bring out the big guns, barbiturates.
But she's not afraid to tell that story, just like Tina Fey wasn't afraid to make fun of Bill Cosby on 30 Rock 15 years ago. Because
put the pills in the people. That's rude. You put the pills in the people.
I saw him when Kayla was only like, I don't know, like 2, at Ruth Eckerd, and I remember being like, "This is it.
Yeah, my
you know,
parents
this
loved
is a bucket list show."
Yeah.
And
he sat in a chair, didn't he?
sat in a
That
chair
tour? Yeah.
for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
He talked about pudding pops as his dick. Okay, and I was like,
Oh, I thought you
"Are
were
your
supposed to
T
be-
calls activated? Y'all listening to this?"
Call back to a conversation we had.
About Robin's mom. But listen, you gotta, like, you can't just go to these things and just be like, all right, he's talking about a pudding pop, must not be his dick. And I was like, I was like, that's a euphemism, a metaphor. I was like, and so I was like, what is happening right now? And then he just kept talking, and I was like, oh, he thinks that he's supposed to run this time because it's a control thing. He's keeping everybody in. Because they think I'm like, I looked at, my husband at the time and I said, we're out of here. I'm not fighting all these cottonheads out of this after 3 hours of listening to this guy talk about his erectile dysfunction. It's Bill Cosby. He should have never, ever been talking about erectile dysfunction. No. So that was in like 2008. And that's when I was like, something's up with this guy.
Yeah.
This is not the chicken heart jumping on the bed guy that I listened to on the records, from like my parents when my mom was a kid.
Fat Albert was everything.
And he had
every Saturday.
we had the tapes. We would listen to them in the car. We had the albums. We listened to them in the house. I mean, I watched Bill Cosby himself. That's one of the best. Talk about a masterclass in stand-up comedy. He didn't get out of the chair much.
That and Delirious.
Delirious, top 5. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
gosh, Delirious
We had
was
Bob
so good.
Newhart and we had Bill Cosby. Those were the 2 comedy albums in the house. So
Bob
my
Newhart.
parents were purists. Like, they knew good comedy. And we watched it. And Jeannie used to go to Rodney Dangerfield's club in the city. When we were
I'm
little kids,
doing
they
that
used
in
to-
April.
Oh, that's right. You are.
Look at you.
Yeah. Hey,
And I'm doing
everybody,
the
say
Stress
that
Factory
again.
too. I don't know, it's the 24th, 25th, and 26th, I believe, of April. I'll be at, in New Brunswick, New Jersey, I'll be at the Stress Factory. I'll be at Rodney's Club in Manhattan.
Amazing. Look what we're
And another room in Poughkeepsie. So it's got a nice little, I know. I was like, what's going on?
doing.
And
Northeast tour.
just a little Northeast tour. The headliner is Rodney Perry, who is an actor and a comedian that I watched for years as well. So I love this. It's like, I can't imagine like my 11-year-old self that's watching like, Robert Townsend's like Hollywood Shuffle and like all these movies. Like my dad came out one time, he's like, "What are you watching?" I was like, "It's the Hollywood Shuffle." He's like, "You are in the 3rd grade." What is your mom doing? I'm like, "No rules at mom's house. She's high." She's hotboxing us in our basement apartment, and you're like, "Robert Townsend, that's the worst thing I've heard today." I'm like, I got something to tell you, Daddy-o. That was the last time he let me stay on his couch. So I just stopped talking about stuff that bothered me.
Oh, well, I'm excited for your tour of the Northeast. That's
I
pretty
know.
awesome.
It's just because you mentioned it, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm actually going to be there, which
Nice
is
little,
crazy.
drop there. Like, oh, by the way, I'll be there.
No big deal. Yeah, that's fun. We'll see if anybody shows up.
I'm shocked that the 3 of us got together and talked about comedy. I'm shocked.
It's like we can't help it.
No.
It's like someone that's a vegan. It's going to come out.
Yeah. How do you
I
know
told you
it's-
guys about my CrossFit.
P90X. I'm still doing it.
Flipping tires. I think we're gonna call time on this episode.
Okay.
And then we're gonna do another one, and it'll be a week later.
It'll be a week. We'll be all wearing like different shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
It's gonna be
weird.
amazing. And sometimes at the end of an episode, we do segments that didn't make it as segments, but we don't have to do.
Whatever you want to
I
do.
prepared.
I'm never prepared. I have ADHD, but I can talk about anything at any time with anyone.
You really can. You really can. So, is it okay with you guys if I do one?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my funny one. I think it's funny. I don't think it's offensive. We'll find out. What do Jehovah's Witnesses sing when they wash their hands? It's not happy birthday. They don't celebrate.
Paradise, 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 paradise.
You like
We
this
don't get
Do you see this
presents.
segment? There's another segment that didn't make it as a segment.
Oh, there's only one correct way to spell the name Catherine. And it's true. It's with a C, like the great and all the special saints. They're all with a C. It's Catherne.
You realize one of my offspring is a Catherine with a K.
It's wrong.
Katie's.
They were
Catherine
drunk
with a
when they
K.
named her.
Katie's name is Katie. Katie's name is Catherine.
Catherine with a K.
Is it really?
Yeah.
You didn't know me. That's the
No,
problem. If
I
she
didn't
met
know
me,
you.
she would have been like, it's got to be with a C.
Why
Catherine's
not?
right.
It's okay that her father's her namesake gives her was a Catherine. Like we actually named her after Catherine.
You
with a
named
K.
her after Catherine? Was it the same spelling?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was
well, then
my
that
husband's grandma.
Yeah, so you had to do it that way.
Yeah.
That's the right way for you. It would be really dicky if you were like, yeah, we're going to name it after your aunt, but we're going to spell it differently. Like, that's such a dick douchehead move. Like, don't do that shit. Like, I hate when, I hate when people do that.
It's not really related. The one who curses a lot.
Yeah. We're going to name her after this foul-mouthed comedian that loves Jesus.
Turned into
Like,
a
yeah.
segment that we talked. It became a segment. It wasn't supposed to be a segment.
It's always
That's
going to be a
all.
segment. If you
God,
kick
dang
it to me, it's going to be a segment.
I know.
I
That's
can't
why
help.
we don't
I'm
do
sorry.
segments. That don't make it a segment.
That's why they don't bring me on all the time. I talk too much.
No.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. You think?
I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing.
We all talk too much.
all
It's a
talk way too
disorder.
much.
But here's the thing: we're entertaining when we talk. A lot of people aren't.
You're not funny.
You're not.
I know you say to yourself, man, I really crack everybody up. You're the boss. You wrate the checks. That's why they're laughing.
It's not a sincere
Right?
laugh. When you hear them.
Oh, you
really
run the
laugh,
HOA. Oh, you're so funny and charming at your meetings. No, you're not. Everybody hates you. You know what I mean? Like, you got to know. Just, like, take it down a notch, you know?
That's gonna be the clip we put out. You're not funny.
You're not funny.
Everybody hates you.
Nobody likes you. Your mother said it. Anyway,
Well, that's enough for this episode. Catherine, can't thank you enough for being here.
thank you
Maybe,
guys.
maybe you can come back next week.
Maybe?
Maybe.
You know, maybe?
Sure.
Of course. I would love to. Thank you both so much.
That's
and thank you
No.
for letting me join Scooch
Ovaries! Scooch over.
Hey, can you scooch over?
You want me to scooch over?
Just a little bit. Scooch.
Scooch?
Scooch.
Scooch. Scooch Ovaries!